Thank you for joining me again today for another Tech Talk with Truth in Life. I'm Johnnie Sanders, and today we're going to just discuss a topic regarding APM, maintaining application inventory. So APM is an application portfolio management tool that a lot of businesses use in the IT world to basically manage their applications, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we get started, hit the like, click on the subscribe so we can continuously share more content and help fellow viewers like yourself. Okay? So what APM does is this application tool helps a company, a department save time, money, energy, effort with utilizing this particular tool to help build and actually move forward with the strategic strategies that have been laid out. Um, and it adds valuable uh, content for the programs that the applications are going to be utilizing or connected to or linked to, if you will. One of the things in this APM Tech Talk, we're going to be able to identify how and understand the cost of what the a state of the IT department could be, may need to be, changes that may need to happen. With the APM, we're going to see how it's utilized to analyze the impact, right, of a change in an application within a specific portfolio. Now, you're going to also be able to visualize the application, the technology, and if you don't already have one, produce a roadmap for future decision making, which is always a benefit. The APM will help you easily build an application of beginning state, entry state through simple form-based data capture, right? Um, it will help with identifying overlaps and gaps in what an IT department can do or what's lacking with specific applications so you can make changes. And it will help you manage your vendor relationship. So there are going to be vendors that you currently have, not saying that you get rid of them, but maybe be able to change the application that they're providing for you as a vendor. So application portfolio management helps you with several different types of benefits. A clear insight into applications, it provides a comprehensive view of all the applications current in use, right? Um, to help the department grow, to help the department have structure, to help the department or business um, organize what they currently have so they can know what they have and bring in other applications, right? This includes understanding the total number of applications and their respective roles. Now, remember, I worked on a particular project from my past videos. If you didn't know or watch those yet, please tune in. But my point is, I worked on a project that had 10,000 applications. And when I share this with other businesses, they're like, how did you manage 10,000 applications? That's impossible. No, it wasn't impossible. Number one, I didn't create the applications, the company did. Um, and it's a global company that uses application around the world. And they had portfolios of applications. And in this organization, it had to have structure, it had to have organization to be able to manage all of these applications. Some were antiquated, as I mentioned, that had to be upgraded, updated. Some of them had to be obsoleted, right? So we had to get rid of them. They had to be put to rest, if you will. Um, but we had a process in place. Myself and three other architects and engineers. We split the applications three ways. So I had roughly about 3,000. So, and they also did the other 1,000 that was lingering were applications that were put to rest. So the 3,000 that we had to manage specifically, we mirrored each other, mirrored the process where we did, lift and shift. We had some refactoring, we had some rehosting, had some new development that needed to take place. But we were able to identify these applications, find out their life history as much as possible, and find out if they were going to necessarily be utilized on the new platform. If they weren't, they were put to rest. If they were going to be used, and a lot of applications, as I've mentioned before, have to be uh, dealt with and reprogrammed, rehosted because of programming customization that has been done. And in that case, that makes it challenging because it was customized for a specific program, a specific platform. Now we're changing the whole platform and program. So guess what? The application needed to be customized again. That took more time, that took more engineering, coding, and programming, but we were able to get it done. Now, I will say this took over 2 years. This wasn't a quick fix with 10,000 plus applications. All right. But my point is having an application portfolio management process and tool in place, this benefited us greatly. Okay. So there was value in the contribution from using APM, also getting help with others to help with assessing the value of each application as we brought them through the process, um, which included evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency of each application that was supporting the business, supporting the brand, and supporting and helping the business achieve its goals. Okay, so it was very important to continuously build, grow, and have that support from multiple technologies, not only software technologies, but also technology engineers, right? And architects and DBAs and and other IT professionals to help use their skills to this project to identify what technologies is currently being used, what technology needed to be used, what technology was going to be used to support a specific application along the lines, what type of technology stack and infrastructure dependencies that were going to need to be done. So again, and I've mentioned how a lot of times, especially in large businesses, one application may be dependent on another application in a total different department, maybe in a total different country, right? Because that was our case. And it took some whew, following the breadcrumbs to get to understanding where these technologies were and what was dependent on this, right? And of course, we had our life cycle management where we would have the process, the place where, again, it would go through the refactoring, or it would go through the rehosting. If it go through the reprogramming, it would have the validity checks to see once things were coded that make sure that they worked. We had um, things lined up in the life cycle development process to help orchestrate um, and track each application's life cycle performance, the implementation process, when it was going to be implemented, or if retirement, as I mentioned, laid to rest, was going to be this particular application. Uh, we were able to get the technology items in place to help us understand what the technology, what the application was doing, and if it was going to necessarily be utilized. And this was part of the planning as well, and the upgrades and replacements and decommissioning of the application. That was totally in place for what was going to be the structure that we had in place overall, right? Our application portfolio management process helped us to optimize the application landscape, right? We were able to see and know what applications we had and their functionality, which was going to basically help us ensure that the resources was sufficient and align the IT portfolio um, applications with the business strategies, right? This was a tremendous help for us, and we were able to basically get the applications in a good place, get the business in a good place, and prepare to start basically marching orders for the application. So we did a collection of data, we did a validation of data, and we did a maintaining of data, right? This task was done, I would say, first to collect and harvest all the application inventory. That's a first in this process of maintaining the application inventory. The applications in this particular project business, um, we had to use documentation that was currently available. Some applications, I must admit, we didn't have documentation for. And for whatever reason that the business didn't do it, there was no documentation. So a lot of times we had to scurry and find, Google a lot of what the application could do, um, especially if it was old applications or older applications. It was important for us to have documentation so we can have show and proof of our work, right? So that was part of it, and basically had to reach out to some of the IT business managers, the IT business managers workers to find out, okay, what did you do with this application, and listen to them and basically ascribe the um, the functionality of what they did and piecemealed it together so we can have a decent documentation of what this application did and its functionality so we can release it out to the business community, right? So they can help keep things organized. um, One of the other things with the application, maintaining the application inventory, is understanding who the communities are and who are going to be utilizing these applications across the board for um, their different utilage, right? Um, d- Different departments use it for different reasons. That they use specific tools within the application differently. They may support uh, specific departments or groups across certain sectors. And with that being said, we needed to make sure that we had specific concepts in place that showed the 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 relevance of this application. Again, when you pulled up the application, you had a nice description. The application does XYZ, right? And so this helped us to define a good strategy for who's going to use these types of applications across the board and who's going to also support it, right? All applications need support and the requirements that was going to need to be supported, right? After that, we needed to set specific goals of when this could take place, right? And by defining the goal and relating all the sequential activities that goes into it, this helps us to ensure that the application, again, is the main focus and can do the necessary items, goals, and achieve those goals in a performance manner when we launch these applications out across the platform. Okay, um, some applications needed to be set up on a specific um, launch campaign. Like I said, we had a lift and shift, which means we would take a cluster or a number of applications that we know that was going to be able to be a good plug and play. Pick them up from one application platform and put it on another application platform. Make sure that test it, make sure that they are working as designed. Those were the easiest ones. But then those that we had to do more um, uh, configuration to them, reprogramming them, rehosting, re-getting new licensing, and all of that, we had to create a launch campaign of when we were going to basically push applications or disperse applications. Now, one of the ways that we did this, we had a list of the applications and we did a survey, if you will, of what the applications were, who was going to be engaged, the stakeholders, the timelines of gathering the process of information, and just try to do your best to keep it simple. Get the feedback from the users, get the feedback from the application owners, get the feedback from management and the stakeholders of when would look good for everybody because we want to make it a collaborative effort, right? And make sure that we have the tools to do it. What tools are we going to use to disperse these applications and making sure that everybody's on the same page and that these tools will be able to disperse these applications on the new platform. And it's always a good thing to promote that, hey, look, we got new applications coming. Please share this with others in the campaigns. Please share this with uh, new departments, other departments, departments that are coming up, departments that have been established. These are um, applications that are going to be coming forward. And of course, we're going to be using our emails and our specific in-house promotional tools to make sure things get promoted and get awareness that it's coming. And check the date. This is going to be happening. So um, when you are considering the campaign could possibly get any type of public notoriety, you want to make sure that stakeholders keep certain things private and as best possible. Keep the information to a certain sector for security's sake of specific applications because everybody doesn't need to know everything that your business is doing in-house internally, right? When you're making changes, when you're making updates, when you're making upgrades, um, for one, there's when outside people hear it, there's you know the chance of people taking your information, um, getting your inside business secrets, if you will. You don't want that. You want to just try to keep things in house and protect it as best possible, um, and keep it fun. Okay. You want to keep people engaged, keeping them engaged by keeping it fun. That would be my tip to you, right? So you want to perform initial collection and validation of the data once you get it going. Once the application concepts have been collected from various in, um, invitations from stakeholders, as part of the campaign, you'll need to refine them, right? So you get the information, you get the concepts. Going into the new campaign, you want to make sure that, again, it's tailor made for your business, your application disbursement. This is important because you might require additional information, right? Additional information that hadn't been thought of in the beginning or the initial launch, because that happened to us where we had a plan and we knew what the applications were going to do. And then as we started getting further down the road, the stakeholders came up with another idea, which was a good idea, but thought if we made a certain change in the launch of the campaign, that the good idea was going to basically point to collecting the data, the validation of the data for the application projects and dealing with the application assets. In the campaign, there were certain packages that they felt would be good for the some specific applications to function within the process, right? And within the process, those packages would benefit the businesses going forward, right? Some of the packages were brand new, so that's why it wasn't thought of in the very beginning. Some of the packages were add-ons, like, oh, you know what? Let's not do away with this. This could benefit. And again, when you have that many applications and they're not ready in front of you, you're not thinking, oh yeah, this application would work with this package and we could just keep them all together and keep it flowing. No, um, because there were so many, they weren't able to keep it flowing. They weren't able to um, make sure everything was ready and available, right? So just keep that in mind. And in this process, we had certain things that we needed to assign to stakeholders. I'm sorry. So certain tasks were needed to be assigned to stakeholders. Since they came up with these specific packages, we needed to know what they were. We need to know how we were going to do this, their timeline, their messaging of what it would look like. So that basically need to be done and put in place. So when assigning specific tasks to stakeholders, sometimes what we need to do and what you would need to do is um, assign specific tasks individually, sometimes as a group, but most of the stakeholders, there's not as many, so you can assign specific tasks individually to those stakeholders, and they may assign specific tasks to the team members and manage those specific tasks accordingly. Especially when, for our case, we had a large number of applications, and we had to get additional point people, team members, to manage the applications accordingly, right? So that took place, and that approach helped us to basically manage the application portfolio process and streamlined it as best we could to make sure that we were able to basically have the necessary requirements to be successful, right? So after that, we set major attributes in place, right? To get really, really invested in the APM process and get attributes to measure the applications that we had. And these was like application lifetime costs, the number of users that was going to be utilizing or were utilizing, the number of active users that were utilizing this particular application or applications. As I mentioned, license cost, maintenance cost, business criteria, business criteria, functioning quality, technical quality. And as always, you always have to manage the risk in bringing new applications into your infrastructure, right? Um, who's going to support the business? So you want to make sure as best possible that you have those types of application items in place so different tasks can be taking place and attributes can be um, taking place for over the lifetime of the application. And again, cost is like number one, managing the cost, how much an application going to cost, how much it's going to cost to manage and support that application. The lifespan of the application that you plan on keeping it, multiplying that by the cost. Usually it's a monthly cost. The number of users is a cost. The license is a cost. The maintenance is usually factored in with the vendor, right? So you want to keep all of those items in place, and you must be able to measure the number of users, because like with AWS, the more users are utilizing this thing, there's a cost t-shirt structure, small, medium, and large. And I've shared this in another video with AWS, and I'll got some more factors that I'll bring in um, that will represent the number of users, the number of licenses that will need to be purchased um, for active users to be utilized. And of course, someone needs to monitor and manage these users. And when a user go to another department or a leave of absence, or they choose another job and go somewhere else, someone needs to remove them from that particular application access, right? That's business critical uh, measurements that you would need to do. So high, medium, low, the business couldn't operate without it, right? Check that. If that's the case, we got to have the appropriate licenses. It's important, but with the business could it's important, but the business could continue. And if it is, you know, what's the backup plan? You want to have a backup plan. The business could operate without this. If that's the case, you put them in these different high, medium, low categories. This helps you determine if you're going to need the number of application licenses and users. If this is not going to be something that the application is going to be utilized by a certain department or individual, then they don't get a license to operate on it. And in something like Splunk, I am a power user, so I had more um, privileges and access, admin rights to be able to utilize and manipulate, change, move data. They may only need to view data to capture to see, okay, how much money was spent that month, how much data was utilized that month for factoring usage of an application, right? So if it's functionally rich and does everything we need it for, that's high priority. They get it. It satisfies some of the functions of our business. Keep it medium because it's done doing some of it. If it's not aligned with business requirements, most likely get rid of it, or they're not going to utilize it, right? And doing like technical quality checks, that's what you're doing when you're doing the high, medium, low tasks to see if the usage, the performance of this application is necessary. And if it aligns 100% with a specific business technology strategy, then we're going to keep it. If it's only doing some of it, if it has defects, but it performs adequately and we can fix those, and we'll set up a maintenance time to do that, we'll keep it at a low process. If it's low, have multiple defects and requires support, major support, we'll have to just really look at it to see if it's even beneficial to even hold on to this application, and just basically like, nope, let's just go on and get rid of it. All right. The risk profile of this application, you want to do again high, medium, low. If it's going to be high risk for the business, or if it's going to be medium, um, with a minimal amount of work. If it's going to be low risk or have no risk, and of course we can keep that application. But if it's high risk, um, the the risk outweighs the benefit, the financial gain of an application, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to push it to the side. Like, no, we'll do something else, right? Because you want to be able to do the quality checks to see the value in the specific application performance and usage rate of a specific application. Financial applications showing financial um, details like accounting software. That's something that we definitely want to be able to continuously utilize and pay attention to, because all businesses need good financial software, financial data, um, accounting information, bookkeeping information, large levels of financial management. Okay. So keeping track of the accounting, basically finances of specific application, because again, we got revenue costs, revenue expenses, revenue intake, financial matters. It helps being able to have a Kanban board. A Kanban board is basically a dashboard that provides visual um, information quickly of what an application is doing, where we are with a specific application, and where we are as a group, depending on which attributes you put in these Kanbans, right? Uh, it shows different concepts that represent, um, again, the financial matters of how a business is performing across the board. So using Kanban boards for application portfolio management involves working with the different departments, uh, business groups, specifically accounting. You want to have them in there to define the different stages of what the Kanban positioning would be. Basically, what your labels, your names, your columns, what is it going to look like for you? And in doing so, for example, um, we had a to do column. How is it working currently column? What is it doing? What's been done, completed? And if we had some things that came up that was a good idea, but we weren't going to be able to use it maybe this month or next month or the next 2 quarters, then we put that in the parking lot, right? Um, and we would have somebody administrating this, so they would provide the updates to the dashboard as we saw fit for usage rate, right? This allowed us to keep the concept that we currently had and to keep it fresh and relevant, um, with someone making sure that we stayed with the strategy of the business, in line with the business. So it was important for application portfolio management to keep things working and moving along um, fresh for visual eyes in real time and showing the progress. So stakeholders, when they went there, they want to see a certain product. How is it functioning? How is it performing? What are the sales here in the States? What are the sales across the board, um, overseas, in other countries? So you're able to watch and manage to see the progress of it, right? Proper asset categorization lays the foundation. So again, having those particular Kanban boards set up properly, um, making sure that the inventory management is there, proper categorization for that specific business. Again, if we're going into a seeing what is happening overseas in another country, then we need to see the different money. It may be yen, right? What types of sales is doing in a certain popular area or not so popular area. So these things that we would have categorized, um, that was going to show us how good or how not so good this specific application is performing, right? And you use it for different, maybe even a use case for the marketing team to help to connect with the sales team, and have it set up by department, have it set up by, again, application, um, and metrics. So you want to just keep all this information in a central asset, availability, connected to a database to store all of this information, all of this data. And again, whatever database you use, just keeping it maintained. And someone would just do, I would say, a monthly check with the particular database and make sure the storage is adequate. So you're not at capacity, and then at the last minute trying to, oh, we need to get more storage. Oh, we need to scale it out. No, no, we're not going to do that. So you want a database and functionality to where it can be scalable, but you definitely keep logs and alerts to let you know where things are, right? And of course, you want to automate the process as much as possible because this is large amounts of data, right? And you want to be able to keep it as automated as possible and keeping it streamlined so that way there's less chances of error, there's less chances of mistakes, there's less, again, chances of data getting to a critical state and you're having to stop business, halt business, try to help and fix or connect a certain another application to keep things going. And no, that's part of the process. And keeping the maintenance of APM, that's part of the maintenance of keeping your inventory. You don't just put inventory in a certain, let's say, because we all know about warehouses and storages that we drive around the street, we can see a big building, right? That's full of people's items. It's the same thing with technology and data. There's warehouses and databases that is filled with important data, sensitive data, and you want to have someone available maintaining, watching for any types of alerts, performance. If anything, just like green, yellow, red. Green is good, yellow, okay, amber. We're starting to may need to check it. Let's see what's going on with it. Make sure it doesn't go to red. Because of course, when it goes to red, it's that critical state, right? So these are just some of the wonderful tips of um, maintaining your inventory using application portfolio management. And I hope you are able to take this, utilize it, and just be mindful of your application functionality, and health of your application. Okay. So thank you. This has been a great Tech Talk with you with Johnny Sanders, Truth and Life. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and let's keep growing and sharing this information for others. And as I always say, let's be good. Let's dare to be great. See you next time.